Uranus, the counterbalance to the counterbalance. What one would say from one context, opposition. But opposition could really mean anything, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So if you were to oppose some type of like obsolete system, then from a standard level, that opposition would try to like fill in the blanks and fill in the holes of said obsolete system. So Uranus being in Taurus, there's spiritual innovation and spiritual depth and spiritual origins, which within that's in your Taurus house. We're seeing that and aligning our actions to that spiritual innovation that has been foreign to us. And what's foreign is just quote unquote unfamiliar, end quote. And we could perceive unfamiliarity as something as a detriment to our incompletions. And then from there, that's our, emotional growth and our physical growth. So Uranus aligned with Venus, we could also be cultivating our Venus could mean so many different things. How we relate, inner relation, inner quote unquote mature sexuality, end quote. Because Venus is the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is how you go towards pleasure. What is even the diplomacies of pleasure, acting towards, are we ready for, that Venusian nightlife, when the system has been built, nighttime Venus. Are we applicable to be qualified to be in this nighttime Venus life? Of course, but within different remnants and degrees throughout our lives. Moon in Virgo. Mercury is low-key, what do you call that? An androgen, and the androgen doesn't have to necessarily be physical, it's it's a unique energetic androgen, so within that, Mercury's secret mysteries is he's also catering to the feminine parties, the feminine agencies, the quote unquote metaphorical virgin agencies, end quote. Virgo being the virgin, not necessarily sexual virgin, but the virgin to I'm not married yet. Because what virgin used to mean in the ancient times, it's not necessarily about whether you slept with someone or not. It's the virgin meant you were unmarried. So we were unmarried. We're still with ourselves within our growth of the esoteric masculine and esoteric feminine energies of life. And we're growing through those esoteric feminine and masculine energies. And as we're growing through those esoteric feminine and masculine energies, they have their own agencies. And the growth process can mean so many different things, because the growth process is just a little label for what we experience throughout our whole life, So Moon being in Virgo, the esoteric, energy production that's before the money, the real energy that we get to enjoy, and you could label that whatever you want. The moon technology is being beamed in the Virgo constellation, and on its own astrological dynamics, the Virgo constellation is beaming to us the moon's energy, and we're following suit, and we're adapting, and we're emotionally responding to how the moon is kind of following up on a Virgo constellation, on how we're generating energy in that space of the area. And that space of the area, we're responding based on the moon energy being there. And the moon energy being in Virgo, what that means to me, and obviously I'll explain that in a different, I'll write a summary and explain that a little bit more, and I have a past video about it. But what the moon in Virgo means to me is it means leveling out the playing field, right? Because Virgo is about if Mercury's an androgen, and Mercury's an androgen and the moon's in Virgo, then Mercury's job is to make fair agencies esoterically for the esoteric feminine groups and the esoteric masculine groups, and how the esoteric masculine and feminine groups how those groups how they kind of come to fruition all the more, there has to be some type of like, you know, Virgoan analytical response of like the nature of you know, the nature of like, it's kind of like the nature of sexuality, right? The moon in Virgo, because it's like we're seeing how everything has its place, you know. Everything has its place. Like we all start as the same creature, you know. It's like a creation process, right? Like, but like you, like from the embryo, or from the zygote to the embryo to the fetus to the infant to the young, you know, kindergartner, to the young child, and then the child ultimately grows through all these different stages of life. Virgo realizes and respects, in a different esoteric understanding, not the individual like being, but the constellation signature. I feel like Mercury would know like that every creature has its own stage in sexuality, right? So as the moon is in Virgo, we're kind of like, we could react towards, you know, we could emotionally react and physically react, and even like align our mental with our emotional to react to how do we feel to a conscious level rather than an unconscious level. How do we feel in like, you know, seeing how we can have respect for all of life, you know, without the like, because the baby is the most like pure thing. It doesn't have the labels, you know. It just looks at everybody as the same, and then as the baby grows up, it gets kind of like influenced in different ways. And as it gets influenced with these labels and these false perceptions and interpretations within these labels, then the intellect gets kind of spoiled, or the purity of understanding gets spoiled, because it's looking at things in a divisive way, in a non-unity way. And as it's looking at those things in a non-unity way, it's it's just having labels. It's getting out of like the spiritual mind, and it's going into like a lower mind pretty much. And that's just like, because we're getting kind of like influenced by shit that is the illusion of the Matrix 3D, the 3D illusion of the Matrix, right? So like this Archangel Umbriel channel, my Jigga Wiggas, is this Archangel Umbriel channel, it's more of a fluid channel, my Jigga Wiggas, and I don't even know what that means, but like, you know, people can make up their own like, you know, petty individual shit when there's a bigger picture to actually be more concerned about. Because I don't even think that's a thing, you know, like my Jigga Wiggas. But within me making this Archangel Umbriel channel, my Jigga Wiggas, it was to be a fluid channel for, you know, just like emotional growth, right? Because the Archangel Umbriel channel, it's Uranus and the moon, and you know, respectively, just seeing like how Jupiter is like a unique threshold. Because what makes Jupiter, like, what gives him the power to even expand and contract to begin with? He would have to be in between some surface level celestial beings and objects that go more to a physical front, more so on like their own macro level, and then he would have to be in between some other celestial beings and objects that go towards a more different internal front. And everything is backwards. The more internal, it's the spiritual outside, and the more external, it's it's, you know, a different bigger picture spiritual inside, perhaps. So within that, you could say some planets are more key signature to go more external, and some planets are more key signature to go more internal, right? But like some would have to be like somehow in between, you know? And you could say, since Jupiter is kind of like a gaseous type of planet, you could say it's more of like a threshold, right? Because it's mutable. Sagittarius, Pisces, it's changing, transformation. Some people relate to Jupiter as like, you know, certain deities that are like something that is like a particular type of transformative principle, as is every planet, but some more than others. So like you could say Jupiter is something of like a transformation within the, in between the external and the internal. So the Archangel Umbriel channel, it's more of like Uranus, the moon, Jupiter, and then kind of like everything else, right? Because they're the you know, the moon is always like, it's like the main concern where we're getting washed with emotions, and within the surface level emotions and what we're kind of like going towards as far as inclinations, the moon being an inclination energy, like what are we inclined to be provoked for? Provoking energy, inclination energy, the moon, that's like the number one challenge. It's the number one challenge. We're provoked, we're inclined, and that's the thing that's getting programmed. It's our moon, within everything that we consume as far as news, media, beverages, food, water, relationships, it's all moon based, because our water energy, it's being that's the moon energy. It's closely related with the moon energy, and it's being provoked. So the moon is like the first challenge, it's being provoked, and Uranus is like the most inner depth challenge, this low-key spiritual foundation, and Jupiter is like this threshold key signature thing. So the Archangel Umbriel channel, it's really like Uranus, the moon, and Jupiter respectively, just on a casual standard, you know, a casual, effortless, you know, spiel, steadfast type of flavor, you know, because they have like prominent relatabilities to like a bunch of like key shit that has to do with how we enjoy ourselves most modernly, right? Because Uranus is like, he like, it's like, and who's to really say if we could prove this or not, but it's like, it's a real spiritual foundation, you know? And then the moon is like the number one challenge, and Jupiter is like this, you know, this, in certain realms, he's like the king of gods, right? And the king of gods, he's kind of like, you know, he has like some type of staff, his own respective staff, for how like where the experiences, entertainment, and fun go towards and gravitate towards, and how we kind of like orient ourselves around the cultural dynamics around, you know, entertainment, fun, and even media. And then Neptune is kind of like, you know, like around that shit too, you know. But like, you know, shout out all the planets, but I'm just saying Archangel Umbriel, the Archangel Umbriel channel, it's a channel where it's like, it's doing the emotional work, seeing the spiritual foundation of Uranus, and then just seeing, you know, what else, everything else that aligns with Uranus and the moon, right? Because that's Archangel Umbriel shit. So within our Taurus house, like a lot of stuff is getting like, there's a new concoction experiment within the Taurus house. And within that new concoction experiment, it's a very, very particular, hyper energy infused seed, because there's a quote unquote metaphysical conjunction. The conjunction is the combustion, metaphysically speaking. And the conjunction being the combustion, it's a particular new energy. It's a new energy infusion, and that new energy infusion has a seed. So we're underplaying the alignments in the Taurus constellation. So the alignments in the Taurus, based on how you're aligned from your first house to the standard first house, from that alignment, from that ticky-tacky alignment, from that clicky-clocky alignment, click, you know, from that like from that type of alignment, we're gauged based on how we're aligned within our first house, and wherever our first house is, that's how we're kind of aligned in a unique way towards the collective first house. And from the collective first house, our first house, we have a certain type of gauge to wherever our Taurus house is within our first house, whether it's the first or the 12th house. That's where that's where the energetic combustion conjunction energy hyper infused seed is playing out in your physical to esoteric body, right? Because the Taurus house within you, whether it's first through 12th house, that energy combustion within the sky is somehow activating a place in your body where you have Taurus in a certain first through 12th house. And I could do Taurus through the houses right now real quick. So if you have Taurus in I think I already did it, you know, I did Capricorn through the houses for sure, but you know, I think maybe I could just do it real quick right now. Taurus, like first house, you know, closely embodying practicality of, you know, real surface level matters, right? Closely embodied, like you're really with it. You're really about the practical work. And maybe you could be like, don't cross me type of shit, you know? This is my shit. You could be like a certain energy, stubborn and like energetically related to practicality and practical works and tradition, even, you know, tradition within your own individual traditionality, right? Second house Taurus, so that's like a Taurus exaltation, so that's super yin right there, because Taurus is in the second house. So that would be like let's see, so first house Taurus is first house Taurus. If you were to have Taurus in the second house, then you would be a first house Aries, right? So Taurus in the second house is you would be a first house Aries. So that's like a, so the first house Aries, they're like, they kind of have an esoteric balance, right? Because their individual first house is their individual first house is Aries, and the collective the dragon mother Adam feminine Adam and Cadman body, the collective first house is Aries, right? So first house, second house Taurus is, that's just like esoteric balance pretty much, and closely related in body to kind of like, you know, a warrior spirit. And that warrior spirit is exalting esoteric yin, second house Taurus. And it's kind of just like, you know, doing things for the divine mother, right? And then the divine mother's coming in again because the moon is in Virgo, right? The moon in Virgo is what the moon in Virgo is, it's energetically reacting and responding to the agencies of the quote unquote metaphysical virgins. The metaphysical virgins, and I'll come back to the houses, because the moon in Virgo is Mercury is an androgen, and the androgen needs to get counsel from the divine mothers. So Virgo is like kind of like the student to the divine mothers. So the moon is like, we're reacting to us being students to life, us being students to nature. You know, the Virgo is like the medicine woman, medicine man, but like in a practical, like surface level sense, right? So Taurus in the sixth house, right? It's like it's being practical and analytical to, or like if you have Taurus in the sixth house, you're kind of like you're kind of bringing a practical sense to the sexual education realm, right? Because Virgo is the sexual education realm, and Taurus, you having Taurus energies in there, you're bringing practicality to like the sexual education realm. Because moon is in Virgo, Mercury is kind of like he's an androgen, right? He's an androgen. So within that androgenality, we're responding to us being students to life. And as we're being students to life, the moon is in Virgo. It's like Virgo is kind of like, it could be leveling out the playing field for like everyone could get a fair shot. Like I'm like, I want to be the head organizer for this group. That's Virgo type of shit, you know? This is the way it is type of shit, because I'm experiencing it firsthand within my ailments and my symptoms type of shit, you know? So moon is in Virgo. So, and that's trining all this crazy earnest shit. So within that trine, we could, on a compensation astrology level, we could use cap to kind of get like our own synastry grand trine. And I've mentioned the compensation astrology like a while back on my IG respectively. So for the compensation astrology, to kind of get our own individual trine for us to kind of complete the like an earth element, be fixed earth, you know, be practical with surface level shit, mutable earth, see, you know, fair equality with everybody has their own shit to deal with, but like, and you know, we all need to get our fill, but and we all like we're all just like, you know, we're all just humans in the end type of Virgo shit. But like Virgo could also like all the zodiac signs have their own shadows, and that's a different shit, you know. It's like, do your alignments and ailments, or do your alignments and aspects angle you to like go towards lower octave shit somehow, or higher octave shit? Because the astrology and the Rahu and Ketu will also detail your karmas too. So with compensation astrology, for us to get our own grand trine, we could look towards Cap. to kind of like, you know, see where we could kind of like, you know, where we could kind of be more elemental to how the earth is like kind of its own esoteric infrastructure, right? So because I look at Cap as some type of like, you know, labyrinth and henchman respectively type of shit. Like, oh, we got the money to pay this shit because we're at the fucking lab, we're at the fucking, and within this lab there's henchmen type of shit. So now we could get a compensation astrology grand trine because moon is in Virgo, all these aspects are in Taurus, and now we need some caps. So within this cap, it's like saying, okay, now there's the secret of the ooze type of shit. Now this is like all the ninjas and Shredder and Saturn and Neptune type of shit. Because Saturn and Neptune have had their dance within like the Pisces constellation and the Capricorn constellation, right? Because Pluto was in Cap, Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces, and then, you know, Cap being its own house, and Cap being its own, like, you know, Cap and Uranus and Saturn having their own, like, you know, and in different timelines. There's so many different timelines, right? So it's like you could say simultaneously Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius, right? Because there's so many different timelines. But for this timeline, nothing's really official, or is it? And if it is, what makes it so it is official? Because you can't just say this is the ruler of Aquarius, that's the ruler of Aquarius, without any real officiality. And I'm just the most truthful, you know, with it. And I have the most critical thinking because I'm asking the real questions, you know. Because how is it so? You're not asking that. You're just saying that. People are just regurgitating shit, whether they know it or not, you know, without any type of inquiry. So for us to get the compensation astrology and reap this grand, or quote unquote, like feel the grand trine within Moon and Virgo, all the planets being in Taurus, now we could be like, where is our threshold family lineage coming from? Because Cap, Aquarius, and Pisces, from the top down, that is the fucking that is the spiritual family, the quote unquote Cosa Nostra, end quote, right? And you know, you can make any type of joke about that, right? But like Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, that is the deep predecessor, or that's the deep esoteric family type of shit. So how we have our relationships with our spiritual family, that's one type of karma for us to go out in this fucking world. Because if the family is the foundation, and our foundation is kind of like, you know, kind of like quote unquote skewed, end quote, then that karma, that esoteric karma, that's like our esoteric grounds. And those esoteric grounds could kind of be shaky for like for how we're kind of reflecting and entering into this physical reality, right? So if we want to really be secure and comfortable with this Moon in Virgo, it's just seeing like deep ancestry type of shit. Virgo, deep divine mother. Capricorn, deep divine father, matrix father, right? Saturn being the matrix father, right? So Saturn being the matrix father, Virgo Mercury having a relationship with like Lilith and shit, because Lilith has been in Virgo and Libra, and I feel like Lilith is exalted in Virgo, but who's really to say that? And then all of this crazy combustion energy somewhere in the threshold of the solar system to the Earth, there's a Taurus constellation where celestial objects are just beaming within that Taurus constellation. So we could get that grand trine, we could feel mutable Earth, fixed Earth, and cardinal Earth, and we could use that Earth energy for us to actually be chill. You know? All for like the miracle of just to be chill. Somehow. And isn't that fucking ironic? So if you have Taurus in the 6th house, bringing practicality and stability and, you know, indulging energies to like kind of like, you know, leveling out the playing field with the agencies of, you know, family life, right? I think that's what they called it in 5th grade, you know, where there's like this first introductory sexual education in 5th grade. It's like family life, right? So Taurus in the 6th house is like bringing practicality and indulging relatable energies for fun thrills to 6th house. Taurus in the 4th house, bringing practicality and indulging energies and, you know, nighttime fun relatability energy to kind of like, you know, home care shit, right? And family counseling type of shit, and like maybe like even like, you know, childhood trauma type of shit, you know. Taurus in the 4th house, they could be kind of like maybe a child doctor, and I'm not saying it has to be that. Taurus in the 3rd house, investing into the 3rd house being so Taurus in the 3rd house, that would be Pisces 1st house. So Pisces 1st house embodying relatability to something of, you know, fantasy-like narratives that are intertwined within dark and light, because Pisces 1st house is, you know, one of those early dark and light energies, right, respectively, and because it's like fantasy, it's like Disneyland shit, it's like phantasmagoria shit. Shout out to the predecessors. So within that, they could be very poetic, right? They could be very like, you know, creative. They could be storytellers. Pisces 1st house, 3rd house Taurus, they could be like very like crafty, right? They could be very like, they could be like, literally, they could be anything. They could be like, it reminds me of those like steampunk people. They could be very intricate. They could be very, you know, maybe even aloof, you know, being practical. They could be like, you know, wizards, right? The Pisces 1st house, they could be very like, maybe they could be a little bit of to everything, that where they could be like tripping in themselves. So 3rd house Taurus, it's like bringing practical, or like investing into the communication energy within the paradox of, you know, being practical, or like having stable energies to the truthful communication of life. Taurus in the 4th house, you know, within investing energies into your home life of nighttime Venus energy. So maybe you could like, so that would be Aquarius 1st house. So maybe you could, on one level, you could be like the owner of like, you could be the owner of like some like, you know, institution, right? And within the owner of the institution, you could like kind of see like, maybe it could be like some type of madhouse, right? Some type of like, it's a madhouse. It's a madhouse. Like Aquarius 1st house, it's a madhouse. It's a madhouse. So that's Taurus, Aquarius 1st house, Taurus 4th house. It's a madhouse. Taurus in the 5th house, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I went 6 earlier. Now I'm going 5. So 5, Taurus in the 5th house, that would be, I think, Cap 1st house, right? So that's like, there's like a yin trine there, and within that yin trine, it's like embodying the relatability of like, you know, Ninja Turtle type of shit. You don't have to look at Capricorn as Ninja Turtle type of shit, but you could in one sense. Why could you? And it's not, I'm not saying like all Capricorns are like this. I'm just saying like, I'm not saying it for the individual. I'm saying it for like, you know, how like the collective constellation could kind of brush into that shit, you know? It could brush into like, you know, Capricorn being some type of fortress type of shit. You know, in the Ninja Turtles, Shredder, he had all these fucking henchmen, right? All these fucking henchmen from his fucking fortress. So within that, Taurus in the 5th house is like, it's like he's raising the fucking kids, you know? Like Taurus in the 5th house, like you're raising these fucking kids, you know? You're like, you could be like, maybe even like some type of army general maybe. And this is just an intuitive thing. I know it's like people like, and I myself as well, you know, I love leaning towards some type of structure, of course, and some type of like, you know, logic, of course. And so Taurus in the 5th house, it's like your inner child energies and your inner star energies and your inner star potential energies, it could be shined through kind of just like working in the mechanics of, you know, the Matrix Father, you know, working for Satan, maybe, you know, working for Satan, and how Satan has, you know, relationships with all the certain other beings, and how he has made his shit, you know. But it doesn't, like Taurus in the 5th house, it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it could be, you know. You know what I'm saying? You know, because like look at the fucking American reality since like 1950s, like 1940s. Like the CIA knows about all of these like crazy fucking experiments. It's already out. The cat's been out of the fucking bag since the fucking 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like fucking like, you know, just different families like experimenting with like just different random organizations and families just experimenting with LSD. Like, but like somehow like in like an arranged, quote unquote, organized fashion, end quote, quote unquote, right? So that's Taurus in the 5th house. I already did Taurus in the 6th house. Taurus in the 7th house. Woo! It's you're bringing the fucking innovation to the forefront pretty much, because the 7th house is change pretty much. There's a change factor in the 7th house, and within that change factor, it's let's relate to some type of new chapter, this new starting, this new process, this new fucking the 7th house being like this new journey, right? We're starting the new journey, right? So having kind of like you know, Taurus having nighttime indulging energies within the 7th house, nighttime Venus into daytime Venus. So it's like seeing like maybe like, oh shit, what am I gonna do tomorrow type of shit, you know? And this is just an intuitive thing kind of shit, you know? So Taurus in the 7th house, that would be, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that would be Sagittarius 1st house. And I hope I'm right. Let me just do it real quick. Sag 1st house, Cap 2nd house, Aquarius 3rd house. My bad, guys. Pisces 4th house, Aries 5th house, 6th house Taurus. Oh yeah, yeah. So like, wait. So Taurus 7th house. So what's the 1st house of Taurus 7th house? Oh wait, I think I am right. Yeah, it's like, okay, Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, Errors, Taurus, Gems. Oh shit, I think it's I think Cap 1st house. My bad, guys. I think Cap 1st house is Taurus in 7th house. Cap, Aquarius, Pi, Aries, Taur, Gem. Oh yeah, Cap 1st house is Taurus 7th house, so I have to redo a certain part, but it's an easy fix, you know. So you could fix it accordingly, obviously, because Aquarius 1st house, I think that's Aquarius 1st house. I think that's Taurus 6th house. Aquarius. My bad, guys. Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taur, Gem, Cancer. Wait, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taur. Oh shit. Yeah, so Aquarius. Oh, okay, so it's more further back. And obviously there's better quality videos for me, for sure. But so let me just do it over again. So I'll start from Taurus in the 4th house. So Taurus in the 4th house, that would be obviously so Pisces, Air, Pisces. No, it would be Aquarius. Oh, so Aquarius rising would be 4th house Taurus. Capricorn rising would be 5th house Taurus. Sagittarius rising would be 6th house Taurus. Scorpio rising would be 7th house Taurus. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, that is it. Duh. Okay, so Scorpio rising 7th house Taurus. Oh shit, I've talked about, if you go through the, if you see other, this is like the 5th time I've done this, like certain signs through the houses, so you could get more juice, info, and details based on me doing this in a different process. So Scorpio rising Taurus 7th house, embodying some type of Pluto energy, embodying and relating and being some type of Pluto energy, but like on a yin level, you know. I think the first house, that what we have to not mistake is, like, when we're doing this embodiment, it's not necessarily just the masculine level. The first house is also a yin level. So within this yin level, 7th house Taurus, that's kind of like just kind of being like the scorpion, right? Being like a feminine scorpion. 7th house Taurus, being a feminine scorpion, and using that feminine scorpion as an example and how we could change ourselves in nature. So 7th house Taurus is being the feminine scorpion and how we could change ourselves in nature. 6th house Taurus, that would be Sagittarius rising 1st house. So embodying and relating the, you know, some type of deep philosophical ritual type of shit, Sagittarius rising, embodying that shit, being the beacon for that. And as we're being the beacon for that, our example and how we're responding to our how the Taurus constellation is in our 6th house, we're seeing like Sagittarius Mercury energy within our 6th house, you know, Taurus in the 6th house, Sagittarius Mercury energy, using Taurus for 6th house shit, you know, investing our Taurus energy into Sagittarius and Mercury type of shit. And Sagittarius and Mercury type of shit, that is the whole fucking, that is the play itself. That is like that is the spell. That is the magic itself. Jupiter and Mercury. So Taurus in the 6th house, you got a lot of magic. There's a Taurus in the 6th house, there's a lot of magic for you, because you're investing this combustion of energy for Mercury and Sagittarius type of shit. So you're making a whole new philosophy for yourself and your family. So Taurus in the 6th house, there's a lot of magic for you, because you can understand it through your nervous system, Mercury being your 6th house, and that nervous system, you're a Sagittarius rising, so you naturally could just kind of be like, you could be your own kind of like just your own person for people to go to, for people to relate to, and how to build, like, you know, a esoteric community respectively. Taurus in the 5th house is that would be Cap rising. So yeah, okay, now I corrected myself. So Cap rising, Taurus in the 5th house. This is like that's like the quote unquote like Satan shit, end quote. And then Aquarius rising, 4th house Taurus. Oh yeah, okay, so now I picked it up. This is like kind of like, you know, feminine type of it's like hospitality education, right? Within within some type of war narrative, because the Aquarius is like, the Aquarius rising is like, we're going to this Aquarius being to see like how like, you know, how shit is changing, how shit has adapted throughout history. Aquarius represents like the transformations throughout history, because it's the threshold between Pisces to Capricorn. Aquarius is between the age of Pisces, the whole narrative we came out of, a unique type of darkness and light, because within this last yuga of 5,200 years ago, the age of Pisces or whatever, as so below was the dark, and as above was a unique light. And now that unique darkness is going into Aquarius, it's the threshold. And then after the age of Aquarius, there'll be this age of Capricorn, right? We're going back to some type of like collective fortress, right? So Aquarius, in a different as above, so below sense, it's kind of the threshold between a certain evolution of humans, right? Aquarius being a certain like factory of divine beings respectively, without any of the biases or the labels, because this is advanced intelligence. Woo! And what will I title this video? Taurus through the houses casually. I'll title it like Uranus plus Moon plus Jupiter energies plus Taurus through the houses. So now we're on Taurus, the 8th house. So that would be Libra rising. So Libra rising, you're embodying feminine principles of natural change. Like casual, low-key natural changes. Like it's like, you could even say it's like something of an energy that's like, it could have subtleties, because Libra could have subtleties. We don't necessarily see what's underneath. You know, everybody has the Libra energies. It's not just Libra sun signs, moon signs, or risings. Everybody has it. But within, if we're tapping in or not tapping in, depending on how much we're developing our own personal Libra energies, that could leave people guessing, because Libra is very subtle. It's very like you don't necessarily know what's underneath the mask, because there's some type of like wind preservation there within the Libras. Like you don't necessarily know like what makes them really like something that they could lean towards adaptable. Like within my astrology, I'm not saying when I give a reading for a sign, I'm not saying all the signs are like that. I'm saying it could be, if they like if they lean towards higher octave. So the Libras, they could have a higher octave energy of being adaptable within the changes of not just nature, but also perhaps within physical reality too, because there's two different realities respectively. So within first house Libra, they have subtle energies of how they could adapt to situations, and perhaps they could not neglect nature, but they could still neglect nature. You know what I'm saying? So within that, them adapting to nature, they could use that as their philosophy. They could use their adaptive nature to use practical. They could just be practical and innovative with surface level tech shit, and use that as kind of their own like a nindo or some type of like philosophy, right? So and then like, you know, the combustion conjunction of Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, and the Sun being in the Taurus, those are the energies that are making the Taurus constellation energy kind of sprout, right? So within that, so I'm just kind of giving a general reading, and then you could kind of put it together what it means for you, you know, what the combustion and the conjunction esoterically of, you know, the celestial objects being in Taurus means for you, as I kind of give a general explanation of like what Taurus in the house means, right? So because there's like spiritual innovation and spiritual kind of like, you know, upgrades within the Taurus house, right? So Libra first house rising, your quote unquote spiritual upgrades, end quote, they could be like more so in like an expansive quality for you to kind of like for you kind of just to wind down on yourself, to find your own ritual, you know, your own anendum or whatever. And I'm just gonna, oh wait, oh, I was thinking 8th house was the 9th house. So no, okay, so Taurus in the 9th house. Wait, did I do yeah, I did do Taurus. Do the 8th house, 7th house, 8th house, 9th house, 10th house. I'll go backwards. All right, so first house Scorpio, 7th house Taurus, first house Libra, 8th house Taurus. Ooh, so first house Libra. Oh, actually being okay. So so the 8th house explanation I gave was actually for the 9th house. Please make that adjustment on your own. And the 8th house and the 9th house adjustment, that would be Virgo rising. So you could, I'm sure you could put that together. So let me do Libra rising. Let me do Libra rising, 8th house Virgo all over. So Libra rising, 8th house. So they have subtle energy. So they could just like, honestly, they could just like really pack this shit, you know. They could really, Libra rising, they could really pack this shit. They could really be, You know, they could be sex philosophers. They could be like, you know, Libra rising, that's like sex industry type of shit. Libra rising, it's like, this is the sex industry, right? The philosophy of kind of like, you know, transformative Pluto, and just kind of having your own will with, kind of having your own will. You know, Mars being the will, Mars being the ego, to the Mars being the esoteric gatekeeper of the heart. Who am I sponsoring today? Let me take a drink real quick. So actually, my bad. So Libra rising, that's like the sex industry. And they could be so graceful. Libras could be so, they could be so graceful with it. And it's not good, it's not bad. It just is what it is. It's like, this is what creatures are evolving through life, and there's no judgments. And it's ironic for me to say that, because once we have more judgments, we could alleviate our own esoteric pressures of unnecessary emotional harshness, right? Because the emotional harshness, it's ultimately coming from some type of lower octave detrimental angle of judgment. And that judgment isn't not necessarily necessary, unless it is for the 3D world. And I guess it kind of is, because it's just extreme polarities on the 3D world. So Libra rising, Taurus in the 8th house, they could be like something of like, you know, the sex industry, the Libra risings, they could have like, you know, they could like and it doesn't have to be like that, but like they could like, you know, they could deal with like, you know, even more like 8th house shit. That's like, 8th house is like a fine line between like, there's just so much raw energy in the 8th house, right? 8th house is a fine line between like, you know, death, mortuary shit, and like, you know, from that death, the life is rebirth, and from that life we want to celebrate life how we innocently, esoterically innocently want to, which is through, you know, quote unquote sexual liberation, end quote type of shit. So that's what, so within that, like Venus, Uranus, Jupiter, and the Sun, we could take action towards, you know, kind of like rebirth. You know, Libra rising, you could be like the example for rebirth, right? Like a certain type of rebirth. So Virgo rising, Taurus 9th house, and I can't believe I'm doing this one, but I actually can believe it, because I've been on my own, like, you know, diligent shit for a while. So so Taurus 9th house, that would be the Virgo rising. So I kind of already explained that, and I got mixed up. It's Virgo rising, you know, embodying personalism, original open source, embodying personalism into like quote unquote esoteric virgin agencies, end quote. The original definition of virgin is unmarried, not whether I have had sex or not. No, the ancient definition of virgin is unmarried. So the virgin, the Virgo, the first house Virgo, it's with that shit. It's with the Mercury shit. It's with the Mercury shit, and the Mercury shit and the Jupiter shit. That is like this magic shit, you know. So 9th house, so the 9th house Taurus, you're investing practical nighttime Venus energies into your 9th house. You're seeing like where there's what you could ask, what is magic? It's like fresh energy and innovation. And when you put Taurus nighttime Venus energies, you know, real kind of like crafty energies, Taurus being something of a crafty like refiner, you're having crafty refiner energy in your philosophy and the magic of the philosophy. Virgo 1st house, 9th house Taurus. So the crafty refining energies in the 10th house could be towards your career. That's Leo 1st house, right? So Leo 1st house is Taurus 10th house, and that's me. So I'm gonna do my own intuitive reading, and I think I didn't go backwards, because I went now I'm going Taurus 9th house to Taurus 10th house. So the crafty refining energies, the feminine and y'all can look at it however you want, you know, like, you know, your emotional position, you're not gonna feel this way every other day, because we're always evolving, we're always transforming. So like, I understand, you know, casual judgments, and I just kind of like really don't care, you know, I kind of just brush it off, you know. But like, it is what it is, you know. People are like, they're in their own standpoint of judgments, and for me to not somehow be balanced spiritual maturity, not judge other people's judgments, that's some other shit, my jigga wiggas. But let's see. So crafty, refined energies, feminine, practical, indulging, nighttime Venus energies. Nighttime Venus energies is, we need to not be like out of pocket. Taurus could be like, don't be out of pocket type of shit, you know. It's like we have to like, they're the step-by-step process from everything backwards being level. Taurus is like one of the final steps of kind of distillation, right? Respectively. So if Taurus is about patience and a step-by-step process, we have to work towards, with patience, for a finished product, you know. So that finished product, that feminine Venus energy, that nighttime Venus energy, for us to get to that, you know, quote unquote, whatever esoteric party there is, Taurus type of shit. The Leo rising, it could take a while for them, perhaps, because that patient energy is going towards their career type of shit. So the Leo risings, without us knowing it or not, and this is just one perspective, mind you, it doesn't have to be this for you. The Leo risings, without us really knowing it or not, we could be tested with some type of like, you know, esoteric patience, right? Because we're using practical energies for our career, you know, our 10th house career. So like, and I'm not saying it like, because obviously, like, I know there's a bunch of every rising houses, and it doesn't have to be this for you. And if it's not this for you, if it doesn't align, that's okay, you know. But, and I'm not saying you're lower octave or higher octave. I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility. Like, the crafty and refined energies, we could be, that energy could be a slow process, because it's kind of like we have to do all of this other shit before we could actually establish our career. 10th house, we have to do all this other shit before we find our place in the fortress. 10th house type of shit. So wherever you have your own 10th house, that's where you have to have a different type of patience. Where are you going to find your place? The 10th house is actually like, it's like, what energies are there to test your patience, right? What energies are there to for you to actually like find your place, you know, or for you to be out of your place, you know. So the 10th house and the 11th house and the 12th house, this is like quote unquote, it could be something of like, that is like 12th, 11th, and 10th house, end quote, most respectively. That could be the esoteric warfare, respectively, right? Because it's like the 10th house, it's like, are you really going to become what you're going to become? The 11th house and the 12th house, they say the 11th house, that's where your enemies are at, right? The basic astrology type of shit. So within your 10th house, it's like that whole 10th house shit, it's like testing you, right? So the Leo rising, it's like we're being tested by patience and shit like that. But within us being tested by patience, Uranus is there to help us. We could have spiritual innovation within how we wait, and waiting is such a key thing in the human design shit. So like, we shouldn't compare ourselves with other people, because we have to kind of like do work to really like align with some shit we really want. Because like there's a real significant what time is it? There's some real significant shit to there's a real significant aspect in human design on like why you have to wait, and how it's important to wait, or why you have to wait, and just like what the wait is for, right? Because we have to wait because I've mentioned it in earlier videos, but like there's a waiting process because that is part of the growth process. That is part of like, we have to like it's part of like, can we really balance ourselves in all these different types of energies? There's a weighting process in human design, and I go in on it on other videos. So I'm just it's just a quick chime right here. It's a quick chime of like the weighting process, and like not to compare, because people like it's important to not jump the gun, right? People want things at a fast rate, but if you sell out too soon, then you're gonna have to pay that detrimental contract. So it's important to not jump the gun. It's important to not feed the engineered detrimental desires, because if you feed the engineered detrimental desires, you're gonna jump the gun. You're gonna be in a wrong contract, and then in the future, there's gonna be some quote unquote esoteric payment, end quote, that has to be adjusted, that is more or less in and out of the human design shit, because the human design shit, they don't necessarily recognize the karmic shit respectively. And I speak on it, and I've spoken on it for the last 7+ years, and ironically, I'm not comparing myself with anybody else. I'm just saying that's what it is. So the waiting process is important, so we don't jump the gun, you know, because people want things like instantaneous, now, you know. We shouldn't jump the gun, because if we jump the gun, there's something that we could miss that could be critical for wherever we want to go. Are we really like ready to go be there based on the work we've done? We have to do some type of work, because it's like we just don't know what other people's work they have done. So that's why it's important not to judge, not to compare, because if we judge and we compare, we're just going to mentally cloud ourselves, emotionally cloud ourselves, and eventually physically cloud ourselves, and we're just going to be having on some like dark, cloudy energy, and that's not necessarily beneficial. So there's a whole like process of like, you know, waiting, you know, there's a waiting process. So like that's what we should teach all the youthful generations, like, don't compare. Like, your time will come, just wait. Don't get thwarted by engineered desires. Because if you get thwarted by engineered desires, then you're gonna have all this like random anxiety energy that's not necessarily necessary, you know? All this like, oh, I want it now, I need it now, it has to be now, it has to be like this, it has to be like that, based on someone else's narrative and desire and someone else's emotion and thought, which it probably isn't even yours. So so it's important to not compare, you know, because if we compare, then, and obviously, like, if we're jealous people, and I speak on how to fix jealousy in the past in different aspects, but if we're jealous people, one solution to jealousy is like just kind of like avert your focus to like whatever you're quote unquote like jealous of, end quote. You don't have to think about it. Let that shit pass. Let your shit pass. Let both of the shits pass, and just ignore whatever you're jealous of. Because if you're paying attention to what you're jealous of, that's not necessarily like helpful, you know. It's not necessarily like, let me check the battery. So and I speak on how to fix jealousy like underground and not underground within the last 7+ years, because obviously it gets the best of the humans, right? And if we don't like if we don't kind of like shine a light on that, then people in the arena, they can have subtle jealous energies standardly, and they could use that subtle jealous energy for them to craft their own intention and methodology and approach and shit without us even knowing it, because this is advanced intelligence, this is advanced psychology, this is just what the humans have, you know. And if we don't recognize that people are susceptible to jealousy, which could be anybody, right, then we don't know what the jealousy could do, because jealousy is like, it's a hell of a thing, you know. That could really like warp someone's psychology, and their intentions could just be like overthrow to some fucking cynical shit, right? So if you're jealous, one thing to cure jealousy is like, maybe you should just like, you know, redirect your attention to like some shit that, because like whatever you're jealous of, in the long run, it doesn't necessarily matter, respectively, right? Because it's like everything's gonna get transformed. But it's like what like esoteric direction you're going, you know? And if you want to go to a lower octave esoteric direction and use jealousy to have like some type of corrupt intention, that's your thing, you know? That's your, if you have the grace of the insight, you have it. If you don't have the grace of the insight, okay, you could stay with your jealousy, you know? And I'm saying this like, I'm just saying this like on a neutral level though, you know? I'm not trying to like, I'm just saying it, you know? But one thing to cure jealousy is like, maybe just just ignore some shit, you know? Like you don't have to put attention to that, you know? And I've spoken about this, you know, wow. And then so let's see now where we at. Taurus in the 11th house. Did I do that shit? Taurus in the 11th house. That's Cancer rising. The esoteric father. Cancer. I look at Cancer as the father for some reason. I look at Capricorn as like a different type of dark mother, and that dark Capricorn is like the dark mother brother. And you know the predecessors, they know. The predecessors, you fuckers know. I know you know. So I look at Cancer as like some type of esoteric father, respectively. And even if you're a female Cancer, she's like a mama bear, right? Esoteric father has like mama bear energy. So the mama bear, they know, they're like party hosts, you know, having these combustion conjunction energies of you being a party host. Cancer first house, you're a party host, something like that. So Cancer first house, party host. Let me take a pause. The pause is always nice, right? Pause, pause. We've heard it. Pause. Yeah, we heard it. You're gonna relearn it. You restir it. Redeserve it. Reconvert it. Rewire it. Pause it. Reviving with it. Recycling. Oh, yo, so tyrannically, so majestically, so radically, so unstatically, dynamically, yo, phantasmagorically, horribly, terribly. Yeah, you already know, so vehemently. I don't give a fuck what you really see in me. Instinctively, I be coming, yo, peddling, settling, yo, fire centipede with the esoteric firearms type of shit. Earning it, yo, rehurdling it, repurposing it, reshifting it, reshirtling it, yo, shrapnel, when I popping it off, crapping it off, cracking it off, oh, snapping it off, oh, snap, crackle, pibbity pop, pibbity, yo, sipping it, yo, getting kind of fizzy, like I'm sipping Mr. Pibb, Mr. Pibby, why can't we all live ever so simply, scribbling, like I got a Crayola box with my lunch box with Monster Jam shit on, like, yo, goosebumps, yo, I make a shiver though, yo, I got the fire arrow, ice arrow, sun arrow in my majestic quiver though, like I'm playing Zelda of Legend of Zelda though. I'm gonna keep going with the transit. So Taurus in the 11th house, it's like you see, and it doesn't have to be all the Taurus, and it doesn't have to be all the Cancer first houses, but it could be. Of like, you just see the fuckery. You see the fuckery amplified. Cancer first house, thank you. We need the Cancer's first house. I love you, Cancer first house. Hope the higher octave ones. You guys see the fuckery in the play. You know, the 11th house, the fucking, you know, some type of threshold of like, you know, you could even say the 11th house is like, you know, coming out of the dream world to some type of matrix, right? Pisces, Aquarius, Cap. So the 11th house is some type of fucking like, it's the present narrative of the narrative. That's the 11th house. And within the conjunction, Taurus being in your 11th house, major change. Venus, major like you know, Venus in Uranus is like, this is ultimate change. It's ultimate change. Like all of this shit, it's just ultimate change, you know. Ultimate. And Cancer first house, Taurus 11th house, you could kind of be like some type of like you know, quote unquote conductor or navigator, end quote, to see how we could, shit, man, perhaps to see how we could go back home, or just see how people are in their own lostness, right? Because the 11th house, it's like, you could say metaphorically, you could say the 11th house is the quote unquote esoteric warfare, end quote. And the Cancer first house with Taurus in the 11th house, that's like party host shit, you know? Mama bear, the mama bear first house. I am the mama bear, Cancer first house. And then the Taurus energies within the 11th house, look at the collective narrative. The mama bear looking at the collective narrative, looking at like just, you know, they could probably be like, you know, the Cancers, they have like, you know, just, or all the water signs, they're like natural OBEs, right? Natural, like, you know, natural, so they could see, like, they could see the landscape. So the water signs, it's like we need, like, you know, the water and the earth, you know, we need the water signs to keep fertilizing the crops. And kind of like, you know, you could even say Cancer rising is like kind of like, you know, you could even say Cancer rising is something of a gardener, right? You know, watering the plants, something like that. Watering, you know, nourishing the troops or something like that, you know. And just maybe even seeing even the exterminators, right? Taking out the moles or some metaphorically speaking, right? So within that, the party host, you could have like, you know, extreme change in your party host type of shit. Because the Taurus, it's extreme change, you know, refined energy, crafty, refined, extreme change. I might just do it right now all over again. Crafty, refined, extreme change in the 12th house is Gemini rising. Gemini rising is 12th house Taurus. So Gemini rising, masculine Mercury, the fucking, just the plug for information, the plug for analytics, the plug for fucking, just the plug. Gemini first house, the plug for fucking the scoop, right? The scoop is getting like in a quote unquote positive way, end quote. The information in the quote unquote drama is being shared in a happy way. But just because it's being shared in a happy way, the end result doesn't necessarily have to always be good, right? Respectively. Pause. So Taurus in the 12th house is crafty, refined, extreme energies within your dream time, and you having intel on what's going on. You know, being an example of like what's possible. Gemini first house being an example for what's possible for the higher octave ones, right? What's possible? Gemini first house. Taurus 12th house. Gemini first house. What's possible? Cancer first house. Mama bear, party host. Leo first house. Take your time with this fucking matrix. Virgo first house. Virgo first house. That would be 9th house Taurus, right? Virgo first house, 9th house Taurus is like, you know, what are, you know, some rules aren't necessarily verbalized, you know, like how do we individually transition, how do we take care of ourselves, you know, Virgo, how do we take care of ourselves with an extreme change? So it's like kind of like focus, like Virgo first house, and I'm not saying this is all the Virgo first house. The Virgo first house is like, you know, self-care, right? Self-care. Libra first house, you know, subtle transformation. You know, that's where the fucking extreme change, the crafty, refined, extreme energies is for you have more subtle transformation. Scorpio first house. That would be Taurus 7th house. Scorpio first house, Taurus 7th house is it's edgy change. Edgy change. Edgy change, and just kind of like, you know, Scorpio first house is giving me an Aquarius vibe for some reason. Because Scorpio, Aquarius, Libra, you know, it's like they have like their own unique relations. So Scorpio first house, 7th house, Taurus, it's like edgy change, you know, kind of like going through the stages of the video game, you know, in a unique, inner raw way, you know. First house Scorpio, 7th house Taurus and Libra. That's like extreme change in your relatability, you know. How are you gonna like, will you be accepted by, you know, reality type of shit? What will reality accept you for you, you know? Libra first house. And then what do you call that, what's the next one? I just did a fitness class, so that's why I'm kind of like squinty. Libra first house, and then it's like after Libra first house, it's Sag first house, because Scorp first house. Yes, no, Scorp first. Oh, sorry, that was Scorp first house. So Scorp first house is like, it's edgy change, raw acceptability. Yeah, first house Scorpio is, you know, crafty, refined, extreme change in how you could rawly accept yourself, you know, and original open source, whatever. Sag first house. Let me just pause. Yeah, the pause is great. Yeah, try this tangerine in the video. So Sag first house, that would be Sag first house, Taurus 6th house. This is I'm getting like lucky energy, you know. Let's make shit happen type of shit, you know. Sag first house. Let's fucking make shit happen. Let's make shit pop off. Let's fucking explode some shit. But not like metaphorically, right? So first house Sag. Let's do that shit. Let's make this shit so like we could understand ourselves, you know. We could understand, and as we're understanding ourselves, even Sagittarius could be diplomatic, you know. The whole fall season, you know, like Libra, Scorpio, Sag, like Libra's the Kickstarter for diplomacy shit. And somehow, however the gods and Mercury aligned astrology, after the Kickstarter of diplomatic Libra is like, we have to see the reality of shit, and how that reality of shit, it has its own stepping process of like, you know, Libra being Venus and Saturn, Scorpio being Pluto, Uranus, and Mars, and then Sag being like, you know, Jupiter and, you know, Mercury kind of influences that through the opposition, right? So even Sag could be like kind of like the tipping point of like inner diplomacy, right? What works for you? What's your shit, you know? And within that shit, the higher octave Sages, they could make healthy environments, perhaps, you know. I'm not saying it's that, you know, because obviously there's so much differentiation, right? There's so much, like, and differentiation means different combinations within combinations, duh. Like, that's already happening esoterically before the AI and after AI, respectively. So Sag first house is it's also like maybe that's like finding your inner magic, right? Type of shit. You know, perhaps, you know, and it's all like perhaps. And then what do you call that? And then Cap first house. Cap first house, 5th house Taurus. It's like, let's just man, is he gonna make it? Type of shit, you know, seeing like, worry about yourself type of shit. Like, we're all in our own lane, you know, we're all in our own lane type of shit. Cap first house, we're all in our own lane. It's like, just worry about yourself type of shit. You focus on the help, you know. And then first house Aquarius, first house Aquarius, 4th house Taurus. Woo! This is like masculine, like this is the fucking narrative. This is the battle of the gods, you know. First house Aquarius, this is the battle of the gods. And like we all go in and out of shit, you know. First house, what do you call that? First house Aquarius, first house Pisces, 3rd house Taurus is like first house Pisces, embodying, you know, the dark and light of reality. And you know, first house Pisces, 3rd house Taurus, you know, being the storyteller, you know, being maybe even a maiden, you know, maybe being like a quote unquote servant, end quote. And there's nothing wrong with being a servant. We're all a servant in our own right, you know. We're all serving the bigger picture. We're all serving nature. We're all, there's like, we don't have to perceive it. Like, we're all a servant to quote unquote God, which is the real everything, which is nature, you know, and the provider. So the first house Pisces, 3rd house Taurus, you could be like just a servant to life, you know. First house Aries, 2nd house Taurus. Let's fucking crack this shit off for the Divine Mother. Let's get this shit popping, or something like that, you know. I already did a different reading, or like, so exalting 2nd house shit. So it's like, we're in the organization. First house Aries, they could be all over the place in a good way. No, they could be like they could be like natural organizers esoterically, right? And I don't mean to get long-winded, because they could be in the agency of nighttime Venus already. They could be in the agency within the, because first house Aries, that's the divine feminine dragon mother. So they could be within the they could already be they're the initiators. They could be the natural initiators to where everybody needs to go. Cardinal Aries, right? So just natural initiators, and just kind of like, they're just doing their own fucking thing, you know. And then first house Taurus, being kind of like something of a yin yang. First house Taurus and first house Aries being a certain type of shifty yin yang, to how, like, you know, Aries, Pisces, and Taurus, they're like closely related within their first houses, because they're their own shit, right? So first house Taurus, crafty, refined, extreme change and innovation within your self-embodied self, of you being kind of like just a mystical creature. You know, first house Taurus, these are the mystical creatures, right? They're like they're the surface level finished product of Venus. They could be like even goddesses too, right? But they don't have to, like, but there could be unique oppositions thereove. So it's like, So first house Taurus, these could be like the goddesses, right? So extreme change within your goddesshood, right? Extreme change, good change possibly, but seeing how Uranus, the spiritual foundation, has different alignments with Aquarius and all the fixed signs, because the fixed signs are kind of like, that's where kind of like that's kind of like where the that's kind of like where the narratives kind of like take the stage, right? The fixed signs are kind of like the stage, right? So within the stage, it's like, you know, all the energies, mental, emotional, and quote unquote physical and etc., that is like, those energies are making the stage and the play, right? So it's like the extreme changes. It's like maybe like people have the desires just to be with like a beautiful woman, right? So it's like, and I'm not saying this for an individual first house Taurus, I'm saying this for a different like collective first house Taurus, somehow like just a different collective energy of a first house Taurus, because I think all the first houses have a different macro energy respectively. So it's like first house Taurus, it's like we're seeing like how we could how the goddesses are like, you know, kind of like are kind of like how like new goddesses are being born, and like from all the different alignments and Uranus being there could be perhaps a desire to like fight for a goddess, right? Somehow, like if you would like to do that path, you know, because there's so many different paths you can take. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up. So thanks for intuitively jiving with me, and you know, this is a neutral kind of expression. The intention was not to step on anybody's toes, and if you feel that your toes were stepped on, please recognize the solution and the support that is there, and the vessels who carry that solution and support there for you to even actually experience comfort and possibility in your, you know, endeavors. Thank you very much.